Hello, and welcome to a new episode of The Career Changers. Our guest today is Lata Hamilton, change leadership and confidence expert specialized in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and coaching. She also has an extensive corporate background in organizational change management. Like many millennial women, Lata was once suffering from low confidence and self esteem, spending way too much time and energy in her career for not nearly enough pay or recognition. After discovering the highly paid female dominated career of organizational change management, Lata tripled her salary in just 3 years and opened up a life of flexibility, freedom, and fulfillment as her income continued to grow in this profession. Given a recent diagnosis with endometriosis, now more than ever, Lata is fueled by the belief that women need more time and flexibility to properly care for their well-being. She's on a mission to help women restore freedom to their lives and knows firsthand the power of changing careers with confidence. Today, we are going to talk about her career change and how to stop being undervalued and underpaid in your career. Hi, Lata. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Elisa. It's great to be here.
So, let's start with your background. How did you start your professional life, or better, what was your first job?
My first job might be like a lot of people's. It was actually just delivering the local newspaper, which was fine during the week because it was small. But then on the weekend, when it was big, my mum had to help us. So my actual first real job, like that never lasted. I only did that a couple of times. My first real job was actually in a cafe. It was in hospitality, and I worked there for 6 years.
Mm. And what was your dream job when you were a child?
I loved flowers all through my childhood. I really loved flowers. And so, yeah, I was always dreaming of being a florist. That was what, if anybody asked me, I just wanted to be a florist.
That's lovely. So, what did you study after growing up? What is your educational background?
Yeah, so I went to university and I did a degree in media and communications. I wanted to learn different types of communications and media, like radio and video and online and things like that. And I absolutely learned all of those things, but it was also very journalism heavy. So I sort of learned more about how to pull together the news and feature articles for magazines. So it was a very creative degree. But it was probably a little bit more political, a little bit more journalism and news focused than I'd been thinking about and that I'd hoped for. So I kind of went into my career in a bit of a different angle. I didn't go into the news.
Mm. And how did you progress your career after finishing your studies?
Actually was still studying when I went and did. I decided I'd been working at the cafe since I was 14, 9 months, which is the earliest that you can work in Australia. And so I by the time I got to like my fourth year of university, I decided that I wanted to be paid for the skills that I had built. And I had done unpaid internships every summer, and I was sick of working at a cafe all through the university holidays and through the week, and then having to do unpaid work all through the summer. So I decided that I wanted to be paid for what I knew how to do, and so I went and got a casual job in advertising, and I just worked there like 1 day a week in my last year of university. And then when I finished university, they were like, "We really like you. We think you'd be great at this," and so they offered me a full-time role, just a fixed term contract. And that was, I guess, my first job really out of uni, my first full-time job.
Mm. And then how did you progress in your career before reaching the point where you couldn't do that anymore?
Yeah, I guess for me, like I kind of think of my career as being the launch pad to the rest of my life. Like, we don't go to work for the fun of it. We can have fun at work, absolutely, but we aren't going to not earn appropriately or abundantly. It's not a hobby, it's not volunteering, so we actually do want to be paid appropriately and abundantly. And so when I had gone through university, I had gotten really good grades. I'd worked so hard all through school, worked so hard all through university. And when I actually got given my first contract, and looked at the salary on it, I was like, I could have skipped university completely and just gone and stacked supermarket shelves, and I probably would have earned about the same amount. So I was very underwhelmed, and I was like, what have I bothered doing all of this hard work for if this is the remuneration, the compensation that I'll be getting? So very soon I decided that I wanted a bit more structure and I wanted to actually accelerate in my career. So I applied for graduate programs because I didn't want to go into the media or news. I actually went and applied for graduate programs in management consulting and in marketing because I had enough transferable degree subjects to kind of be able to kind of push myself down that angle, and obviously the experience in advertising. And so I landed a graduate program in marketing and marketing and sales, and it was really fantastic, really great. But when I came off the graduate program, I ended up kind of being put into a role that I'd already done before. It was more of an entry level position, and I just felt really stuck and really undervalued, really overlooked, and really underpaid. My pay hadn't been going up very much. It has sort of been, I've been there for a few years, and it was just going up incrementally year on year, and I wasn't getting any promotions or any new opportunities or challenges. So before I actually changed careers, like I still loved marketing and all the creative side and everything. So, but the first thing I actually did was I changed companies. And so I got a $20,000 pay rise changing companies. And it was then that I found out about organizational change management. I'd never heard of it before, but I discovered this incredible career that really brought all of my transferable skills and all of my passions and interests, that gave me the variety and the challenge because you're working on projects. So they're short, sharp pieces of work. And I landed in something that I just absolutely love, and really, really ticks a lot of my boxes for me.
Hmm. So, how and when did you start envisioning yourself as a change leadership and confidence expert?
Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about it. It was funny because I remember I was sort of doing personal development and but was becoming and was doing my training in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP for short, neuro-linguistic programming. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's the study of excellence in communications, behavior, and psychology or our emotions. So I was doing that, and I was also studying coaching as well. And I'd actually done that while I was still working in marketing. And when people said, oh, you want to have your own business, I was like, no, I just wanted to be like a corporate leader. I wanted a big team. I wanted at least 200 people in my team. I wanted to, be earning like $200,000 because that was like the biggest salary that I could think of at the time. I was like in my mid 20s. And so I was like, that was sort of my goal. It was just to climb the corporate ladder, climb the corporate hierarchy. But I realized that, I got really stuck in marketing. It was like I wasn't going to be accelerating very fast. Was only going to get incremental pay rises. I wasn't going to be able to really step up into leadership, even though I'd done all of these leadership programs on my graduate program. So I'd done all these leadership courses. And so it was kind of, I hadn't really ever thought about change management because I didn't even know it existed. It was a colleague of mine that actually said, who had worked in projects before, and said, I think you'd be great in change management. And so when I explored it, spoke to a few people, went to one of the free networking events, and I remember thinking to myself, like everybody was so nice and they were so helpful and just so friendly. And I was like, if this is the type of people that change management attracts, then this is the kind of profession that I want to be in. And then it was within my first role. So just a few months later, I landed my first role in change management. And if you don't know what change management is, I love to define things really simply. It's just moving people from doing things in one way to doing things in a new way in an organization. And we do that through communications, training, and business readiness, making sure that everybody has everything they need in order to feel informed, inspired, confident, and ready for the change. And it could be anything that's changing in a workplace, like a new system, a new team structure, a new product, a new service, move to remote work, move back to the office. All of that can be supported with change management. And so, but within my very first role in change management, within my very first week in change management, I was introduced as the change manager and I was suddenly leading change. And I just used all of those leadership skills and all of that marketing background and all my media and communications and all of my advertising and just everything that I had done, process improvement and all my transferable skills. And I just was like, great, if you need me to be your change leader, I'll stand up and be your change leader. And I just built that confidence in myself and in my skills and in my value. I really truly believed that I was worth more. And I really truly believed that that I could offer more and actually have the influence and impact to help create positive change. So I sort of just stepped into it and just embraced it because that's what people expected of me.
Mm. So let's talk about how to stop being undervalued and underpaid in our careers. How often, in your experience, do people feel undervalued and underpaid in their careers? I mean, you went through this stage in your life as well, but now you work with other people and you help them to overcome these challenges.
Yeah, I think that it's a very common thing, especially I think for women. You know, like it's notorious that there is a gender pay gap, that we earn less compared to men doing the same role. We often take time out of the workforce as well for caring responsibilities. And, you know, we'll often also be holding ourselves back a little bit from maybe going for the promotions or the pay rises, or even just negotiating when we're accepting a job offer. We're less likely to negotiate that as well. And so I think for a lot of women, where that feeling undervalued comes from is because they are actually really good at what they do. They have got that expertise, they have got that training, they have built up that experience, but they're waiting for somebody else to give them the permission of what they're worth. They're waiting for somebody else to give them the permission of, you know, yep, you're ready to move ahead, instead of looking at themselves, looking internally and going, I know I'm ready. All through my career, I've changed careers. I've changed careers 5 times by the age of 35. And every single time it was because I graduated myself. I was the one who decided that I was ready to change careers and that I wanted a new opportunity and I wanted to be recognized and rewarded for what I knew how to do. And so it's probably about not waiting for somebody else to give you permission, but instead finding that self worth inside, finding that confidence inside for you to take the leap.
Mm. So, what are some of the most common challenges that we face when it comes to feeling undervalued in our careers, and how can we overcome these feelings?
I think the big one is actually it's not confidence. Like confidence is obviously really necessary in order to be able to put yourself forward and advocate for yourself and your worth. But I actually think the biggest thing that holds people back is the sense of loyalty. It's a misguided sense of loyalty to their company, to their employer, to their boss, where they feel like they have to that they owe something to their organization or they owe something to their boss. And the thing is that you really need to treat yourself like a business. Like one of my earliest coaches, Matt Catling, said this: you got to treat yourself like a business. If you're an employee, you've got to treat yourself like a business because the business that you're working for is a business. It's not a friend contract. It is a business to business contract, and you are a business and they are a business. You're holding up your end of the bargain by showing up to work and delivering while you're there and when you're there. They're holding up their end of the bargain by providing a safe, supportive place for you to be and by compensating you. That is what the contract is. There is nothing that you need to do beyond that. And one of the best things that I've done in my career has actually been changing companies frequently. It has accelerated my salary. And that's one of the ways that I tripled my salary in the space of 3 years to almost $200,000 was because I moved companies. And when you move companies, you recalibrate your worth against the open market, not against what your last salary was. So you get to level set yourself against the entire open market. And I love to say it's not just about what you're being paid today, it's actually about the accumulation of all of your expertise, experience, skills, and training. It's actually all of that rolled up and summed up together, and that's what you're worth, not what your last salary was. So
Mm.
you really need to value yourself properly.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you think are the root causes of ending up in situation where we are undervalued and underpaid? And to me, it comes to mind that maybe we are not able to say no when we need to say no and to wait sometimes for the right opportunity. Sometimes we can't because maybe financially we have to just accept something. But what is your point of view on this?
Yeah, my dad always said, he was like, you know, it's much easier to find a new role when you've already got a role. And that's what I would say is be proactive about your career. Don't wait to lose your job. Don't wait to miss out on that promotion. Instead, be proactive. Put yourself in the driver's seat of your own career, think about what it is that would really light you up. And I think that I love to say that confidence comes from these four things. It comes from knowing who you are, what you want, the value that you bring to the table, and what you're worth. And when you actually actively think about those things for yourself, again, rather than somebody else telling you what you're worth, rather than somebody else telling you what you want. I have a lot of clients and students, and they often might go into new roles or go into new jobs because they got given it, they kind of fell into it. And they've sort of almost been floating along, letting other people dictate their opportunities rather than them sitting back thinking, what is it that I want? What kind of life do I want to lead? And then what kind of career could help me live that life? And so it's really about actually you taking stock and taking charge. And when you're able to do that for yourself and get really clear on those four questions, it's almost like the universe brings you the opportunities that are going to fit that. It works the other way round. I think a lot of people think that they need to wait for the opportunity to come to them, but actually you need to activate that within yourself. And then once you can show that you're ready, it's like the universe brings those opportunities your way, and you're more likely to see those opportunities too.
Mm. So how can we identify our true worth in the job market, especially if we've been undervalued or underpaid in the past?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I really think that talking openly about your salary is so important. It's really critical to share and to, talk with other people, especially other women, about what it is that you're earning, because when salaries are kept under wraps and like nobody knows about them, that's when you don't realize that you're being underpaid. I've had many instances and many examples where people have, women have found out that they're being underpaid, and then they've been so hurt and so angry. But it's like we don't need to be in that position. I think a lot of people, and especially women, think that it's really rude or it's really crass to talk about salary and to talk about money and what you're earning. But actually, it's one of the best equalizers. It's one of the best things of equality. It doesn't have a judgment to it. It's just a figure. But when you do find out what other people are earning, it gives you the opportunity to be inspired. And that's how I ended up in change management, was because my friend had said what she had been earning as a project manager. And I was so inspired by that. And I was like, really? Like in her early 20s, she was earning double what I was earning in my early 20s. And yeah, I was a bit like, oh my goodness, like how? I had like a bit of jealousy, but I was also really inspired. And I was like, if she can do it, I can do it too. And that's one of the reasons that I share my salary so openly, is because I just want to be an inspiration for others. So
Mm.
talking about salary openly is really key. Looking at salary guides, there's so many different recruitment companies and online salary guides. Looking at the jobs that you want and looking at the salary ranges in job ads, for example, on job boards. And then also, if you have got recruiters, trusted recruiters in your network, you can also talk to them. Like change management and the project space is really heavy on recruiters, and they, absolutely know their stuff. They know the industry inside out, and they can absolutely not just share what the averages are for salaries and day rates at this point in time, but they can also have a look at your background and experience and even suggest where you might fit in to that. And often, it's been my own experience, often recruiters and clients value you higher than you value yourself. So there's been many instances where I've sort of thought, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to fall at the lower end of the range. But actually, I've been pleasantly surprised and been given like the higher rate than I thought was possible. So definitely leave it open. Don't give your salary expectations. Instead, just say, you know my skills and experience. What do you think that I would be worth? And don't be the one that makes the first offer. Instead, build on the offer that they give you.
Yeah, and it's incredible to think that nowadays we talk about many topics that maybe weren't talked before, like, well-being, psychological health. But it seems that money is such a topic that brings up so many uncomfortable feelings, whether it's shame,
Mm.
discomfort, and you don't really know who to talk about these topics. And it's so important because many times we may have job, we may have careers, but it doesn't mean that they are benefiting our financial situation and they're leading us towards financial freedom. Sometimes we just literally repeat the same pattern every month in, month out, and that's not beneficial for us in the long term. So, what strategies can we use to actually negotiate our salary effectively and ensure that we are being compensated fairly for our skills and experience?
Yeah, I think that negotiation is sort of one of those things that, again, it's almost like a taboo topic or a dirty word, and people get very worried about it. I think that for a lot of people who might be, especially going for a new job, they think that if they put the offer as too high or the salary request is too high, then they won't get the job. But it's like, do you want the job or do you want to actually be recognized and rewarded appropriately and abundantly for what you know how to do? Because it's just as damaging to feel like you aren't actually being valued for the professional that you are. So it is really important to actually negotiate and to just talk, like have an open conversation. The other person on the other side is just a human, just like you. And there's nothing like scary or wrong about it. It's about having a conversation about what your expectations are and what you're worth. So, like I mentioned, don't share your salary expectations. Just share, look, I'd like to hear more about the role before I share that, or ask what is the salary range that you have on this role. What's the budget that you have for this project or for this role, or put it back on them and just go, my skills and experience. I'd love to hear what you think that my salary could be, and really let them be the ones that sort of dictate, because often they have in their own mind what it is. And if you pitch yourself too low, if you give them a salary figure that's actually a lot lower than what they've already got in mind, they've already got a budget in mind. Every role pretty much does. If you pitch much lower than that, then they might actually question whether you're even the right person for the job, because they might be like, we thought that you were, this advanced or this experienced, and actually, because you've pitched too low, they might actually question whether you're actually at that level. So you really do want to let them make the first offer. And then from there, you can decide, is that actually right for you? And it's not all about the money. You can also look at non-financial benefits. So for example, there's been times where I'll ask for a pay rise. I haven't gotten it because of environmental factors and the economic factors. This was especially during COVID. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But I was like, can I get a title promotion instead? So can I get, go from change manager to senior change manager? And they were like, oh no, we can't do that because we don't have that in the organization. I'm like, that's fine. Can I just get it on my employment contract so that I can add it to my CV and I can add it to my LinkedIn? Because I wanted that progression. I wanted that promotion. I didn't actually care what I was being asked, like what my title was inside the organization, but externally, I wanted to be recognized for the time that I'd spent in my career in change management and for the work that I'd done and the level I'd gotten to. And so I did that, and that meant that my next role, I was able to get the pay rise, and I was able to also get another title promotion on top of that. So sometimes you might have to play the long game, but play it strategically. If it ask for the pay rise, and if they can't give you that, what's something else of value either today or that could give you value in the future? So be strategic about your negotiations. Money is obviously the best thing. You can choose what you want to do with money, but there is so much else on the table. Maybe it's flexibility. Maybe it's like, I want to work 4 days and earn full-time pay. Maybe it's, I want to work from home X number of days. Maybe it's, I want that title promotion. There's so many opportunities for you to negotiate. So ask for the money first, and then sometimes they'll give you the other thing because they're like, oh, we couldn't give you the money, but we can give you something else instead.
Mm. So, are there any specific industries or sectors that are particularly good for career changers to look to increase their earning potential?
I think it's really about looking at those careers that maybe aren't going to be affected as much by automation and artificial intelligence. So we do know there is a lot of digital transformation and technology change on the horizon. So if you're wanting to change careers into something that can easily be automated or potentially replaced by artificial intelligence, so automation more for sort of blue collar jobs, more manual labor, and then artificial intelligence for more white collar jobs, professional knowledge based and information based roles. So really think about like what are the jobs that will always be needed? And I think that they really are the jobs that are very focused on people because it's really hard to automate how people are going to react to something. So really think about that. That's one of the reasons I love change management because in essence you are doing something new that hasn't been done before. There's so much uncertainty and there's so much you can't code that. You can't code how you're going to approach a change because often in an organization, especially a big transformation, it's never been done before. So yeah, really look and be really strategic because I think the next 5 to 10 years we're really going to see a big shift in the careers that are available. And what I would say is look at all your transferable skills. Transferable skills I love to define as the skills that you could use in any job, any company, any industry, any country. So they are the high level skills, not the detailed specific skills for a very specific role. They are the high level skills. And if you calibrate on your transferable skills, the world is your oyster. There are multiple career paths open to you. And so find something that has got sustainability and longevity in the future, and also something that switches you on because you need to love what you do. Um, it doesn't need to be the only thing that you love. You can absolutely find fulfillment and fun and passion outside of your work, but it's so much more fun when it is inside your work. Sometimes it might just be getting a job to just pay the bills, and that's okay as well. Um, but if you can find something that you are really interested in and that really switches you on, that's sort of the sweet spot.
Hmm. So you mentioned transferable skills. What role does continuous learning and skill development play in increasing our earning potential, especially when we transition to a new career field?
Yeah, I think that there's been a bit of a shift and a bit of a trend in the last few years and decades away from maybe like the kinds of degrees and masters and things like that that I did, where where they're really long programs and they're really long to get that certification or to get that degree. Now, if you think about how quickly the world is changing, how quickly workplaces and the future of work is changing, what you really want to look for is short, sharp, industry based courses. So, courses that are really practical, that are really fit for purpose, where you're going to learn skills that you could literally take and apply the next day. And when you learn practical, fit for purpose, and again, you learn those skills that can be used, in multiple careers, not just sending you down one career path, but skills that can be absolutely used in multiple careers or in multiple professions, then that's a really strategic way of actually continuously building your skills and your learning, but also making sure that you kind of get that reward off the back of all of your effort and investment.
Hmm. So can you provide some tips for building confidence and overcoming imposter syndrome when pursuing a new career path or negotiating, sorry, negotiating our salary?
Yeah, I think it's so important to have role models, talk to people, find people who inspire you, who have done it before. Because if you can see that somebody else has done it before, that makes it so much more easy to believe that it's possible for you too. Sometimes that might also mean that you join a really supportive community or you find a really supportive coach that can help you see the potential that's inside you, even if you can't see it for yourself. Absolutely get clear on those four areas of confidence, who you are, what you want, the value that you bring, and what you're worth. And when you get clear on those, it's almost like everything else falls into place and all of the puzzle pieces fall into place because it's like you start to make choices about the kind of career that you want or about the jobs that you're going for based on like what it is that you specifically want. So that is a really good way of sort of overcoming imposter syndrome, and also just kind of owning the gloriousness of you, owning the skills and the experience and the expertise that you have, and seeing yourself for who you truly are, seeing yourself for the value that you truly bring. Because it's very often we can, especially if you're a high achiever like me, like we can be very critical of ourselves and feel like what we're doing is never enough. But, go back to those times when you got really great feedback. Go back to those times when you achieved a really great result, when you felt really proud of what it was that you did, and go and job hunt and apply for new roles or go to interviews with that energy. Because when you go with that energy, that's more open and more flexible and more fluid. And that's the kind of energy that you want to put into your job application, into your interview.
Hmm. So we are reaching the end of this episode. We have a few more questions you can quickly answer. So what type of advice would you give to anyone looking to stop being undervalued and underpaid?
I would definitely say, go grab my Underpaid and Overlooked coaching action guide. You can get it from my website at latahamilton.com/worth it, because what that has in it is my 5-step formula to change careers with confidence and earn your worth. And they're really simple, easy things. Some of them are so simple, like, it doesn't even take you very long to work through the 5 steps of the formula. But again, it's that inner transformation. It's when you do the inner work that then your outer reality starts to transform, and you can create absolute magic in your life and absolute change in your personal and your professional life at the same time.
Hmm. And what advice would you give to someone looking to change their career?
Go for it. Go for it. Nothing is ever set in stone. If you try a new career and you don't like it, like, go try something else. You can always go back to what you worked in before. You can always try something else. I think we're often scared to take a risk, make a change, try something new. But every single job that I've been in, every single career that I've been in, every single industry that I've been in, even if I haven't loved it, it's given me something and it's taught me something, and it adds to my professional background and it adds to my personal experience. So whatever you do, we have a saying in neuro-linguistic programming: there is no failure, only feedback. Whatever you do, you can absolutely use to leverage and launch yourself into something new in the future. So give it a go. Just give it a go. Jump in with both feet. Try it out. You'll never know unless you give it a go.
And really now the last question, if you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would you say to your younger self?
I think I would just say that, everything's going to be okay. I think, especially when I was a lot younger, I was just so worried about my future. I really wanted to be successful. I really wanted to achieve a lot and do a lot and reach my potential and be successful. And I think there was just a lot of pressure that I put on myself more than anything else. And to just know that, like, I made mistakes in my career, I made mistakes in my schooling, like, I didn't always do the right things or get the right results. I've asked for pay rises and I've been turned down. I've gone for promotions and I've been turned down. So, like, yeah, all of that has happened. And I think it's like, as long as you keep going and you have that resilience, everything's going to be okay.
Well, thank you, Lata, so much for joining us today and sharing your inspirational career change story and wisdom with our listeners.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
And the last message for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in next week for a new inspirational episode of the Career Changers. Thank you.